Tanzania lies just below the Horn on Africa's east coast. It is a country rich in culture and natural beauty, including the mighty Mount Kilimanjaro and the Serengeti Plains. Its population is 45 million, but with a staggering 2.9% population growth this year, this figure is exploding at an alarming rate. The UN predicts that by 2050, the population will be 138 million. Extreme poverty is widespread, with around half of the population earning under £1 per day. The population growth needs to be stemmed if there is any realistic chance of controlling the country's spiralling social and humanitarian issues. A recent national study has shown the direct correlation between education and birth rate. Women who receive no education have an average of 6.9 children. Those who manage to get primary school education average 5.6, and those who gain secondary or higher education just 3.2. 50% of Tanzania's GDP comes from agriculture, which in turn employs 80% of the workforce. However, smallholder farming is not a reliable way to feed your family, and more young people in Tanzania don't want to stake their financial security on whether the rains will come or whether they can get a good food price for their harvest at the marketplace. However, without education, these young people have few alternatives or opportunities to achieve their ambitions.
For the young people, subsistence agriculture is using hoes, using traditional tools. So they are not impressed on that. So they tend to come from the villages, go to town, like town of Dar es Salaam, and you'll see that this town now is clouded by so many people, young people who are not employed. And for that reason, it can be a challenge to the nation.
Between 1996 to 2006, I worked as a principal in a secondary school in Mvumi, near the capital Dodoma. I have seen firsthand what an amazing difference education can make to the lives of students and their families. For this reason, I've become involved in a new project in Njombe, in the Iringa region of the Southern Highlands, where we are in the planning stages of building a nursery, primary and secondary school called the Njombe International Academy. We have secured the title deeds to 208 acres of fertile land in the Southern Highlands, which will be used to create the International Academy. On a recent trip to Njombe, I met with many of the town councillors to start to work through some of the issues facing the project. I was most impressed with their knowledge and enthusiasm to make this project a reality. The 208 acres allows the project to have a strong focus on sustainability. The majority of the land will be used for forestry, farming and agriculture, which will create jobs and generate income to help fund the running costs of the school. We took advice from the region's agricultural officer, who was on site with us explaining what types of crops are suited to the area.
I advise that pines and eucalyptus, it's good for this area. And also for those food crops, you can start with avocado. It's a nice place. The soil type is loam soil, which is it is favorable for various types of crops.
We have got a very big coal mine in a neighboring district, which is Ludewa. So the demand will be very high for the fruits, for the vegetables. So for us, we see it's an opportunity for having this project, which will create job for our youth, including girls and boys. We are going to have vocational training. So these children who are going to study here, they will decide whether to go to university or whether to go for skill training.
With an estimated 3,000 foreign workers arriving, the school will be ideally situated to become a leading educational provider for their children. The revenue generated from these fee-paying students, along with selling our produce, will enable us to bring in an increasing number of orphaned and vulnerable children as the academy becomes financially viable. Education is certainly our most powerful tool in the fight against endemic poverty in the region and the unfortunate effects that accompany it, like HIV/AIDS, which is between 5 to 7% in the country.
Ringa region and in Njombe particularly, the spread is over 15%. So it's almost 3 times the national spread of HIV/AIDS. And this has taken lives of so many young people. And as a result, there are so many orphans in the area. Some of them are taken care by old grandmothers and grandfathers. So sometimes they just manage to live and eat, but they cannot get the education which is necessary for them.
67-year-old Rehama Mohoha has been the sole guardian of Asay Mwalongo for 4 years after he was orphaned. He is not related to her, but out of the goodness of her heart, she took him in.
As you know that I'm very old, I failed to take care of this kid, and now he's about to finish the standard 7. So I want you to help him to continue other studies. When I become old, I would like to be the electrical technician in order to help my family and my other friends and relatives.
But the burden of the daily chores, essential to basic survival, means that Asay currently has almost no chance of gaining further education. This academy would enable him and many other children in the surrounding villages to get the opportunities they deserve. Asay is, unfortunately, far from being an isolated case. There are so many other stories to tell. Rosemary and Rosalina lost their mother a year ago.
Since our mother died, we are facing a lot of problems, so we have to do a lot of works at home, like fetching water, cutting firewood, washing our clothes and other stuff.
Their father, Danny Fold, is doing his best, but the task of being a solo caregiver to 2 teenage daughters is a daily struggle, and he is haunted by what could happen to them if they don't get secondary education.
What I fear, if my children don't go to college, they'll face many problems. They may turn to be prostitutes and get babies which are not needed at all.
These children deserve the chance to better their lives with the basic fundamental right to education. Being born into poverty should no longer condemn a child to a life of hardship. On a recent visit to my old school in Mvumi, I met some ex-pupils who have overcome adversity and are now on track to becoming future leaders in their communities. Naima Sudai returned to her former school and has embraced her new role as a temporary geography teacher. She is an inspiration to the current students and living proof of the change that education can make to a child's life.
We have the traditions, like women are the one who take care of the family, and women are the one who were humiliated and things like that. But by getting the education from here, I understood now the value of women and also the value which I have, or my value. If I couldn't come to this school, I think I would be married, or if not married, having children without knowing their fathers, because many friends of mine have already been having children.
Edson Mwaki Twanga is another ex-pupil who is currently in his 3rd year of a finance degree. He has come such a long way from when we rescued him as a street kid in Dar es Salaam.
If I had not come in, at Mvumi Secondary School, my life would mean nothing. The former headmaster, Mr. Morris, brought me at Njombe Secondary School. I got a sponsorship here, and until now, I am the best I can say. I got education from O level up to A level, and help of God, and now I'm in university.
John Lamarck, who stood for Parliament in the 2010 Tanzanian general elections, is yet another success story.
By being taught about leadership skills and being elected as a head boy, that made me a good leader, moving up the wish that I can be a member of Parliament in this country.
The need to build the academy is overwhelming. It will lift children out of poverty and give them the chance to have an education which will recognise and develop their skills in the classroom. This will also enable them to be the teachers, accountants, nurses, doctors, or any other occupations so desperately needed in Tanzania today. If you can help with a financial contribution, join me to transform the future of these children. You can contact me directly on the email below for more information on how to help. Together we can make a difference.